hearing, United States District Court for the Eastern District of Wisconsin is now open. The Honorable Judge Aaron Goodstein presiding. All persons having business before this honorable court are admonished to draw near and give their attention, for the court is now in session. God save the United States and this honorable court. Please be seated.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what I hope will be a very memorable ceremony. It's so nice as I come into, although this is not a courtroom, we're used to do it in a courtroom, but when I walk in, I never see smiling faces. Usually when a judge walks into a courtroom, no one's smiling. And this is extra nice today because the last number we did, well, I see some are still prefer to wear your masks, but then I'd have to see your smiles through the mask. But you can always tell when a person's smiling. And why not? Because this is really a happy day, one that you've worked so hard, and I know you've worked hard to be here today. I wish we were in a bigger courtroom so all of your family and friends could be with you to help celebrate. I know some of your family members are out in the atrium, but others are hopefully watching as we're still live streaming these. Yes, as we live stream modern technology. It's just great. After the ceremony, there are volunteers from the League of Women Voters at a table out there in the atrium, and they're going to distribute information regarding voting, which to me is the most important privilege a citizen has. So they'll also be able to register voters. We've got a big election. To me, all elections are big. There are no small elections, but we've got one coming up in November. So make sure this is your first opportunity to vote as citizens. Take advantage of that. Register to vote and then make sure you vote. Okay, we start out our official ceremony with a representative from the United States Citizen Immigration Service.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Thomas Moore. I'm a designated officer of the U.S. Citizenship Immigration Service in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This morning, Your Honor, I have a motion to the admission to United States citizenship of 23 applicants for naturalization here present in this courtroom, including 11 applicants for a motion to the court for a legal name change. Each of the applicants has been examined by an officer of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Each applicant has been found to be a person of good moral character who has resided in the United States for a period of time required by the statute. Each has been found to be favorably disposed to the good order and happiness of the United States, and each is familiar with the history of the United States, the principles of the Constitution, and form of government of the United States. No objection to their admission has been found. Therefore, Your Honor, I respectfully move that each of the applicants here present be admitted to United States citizenship, and that the court grant the motion for name changes. Those applicants who requested it upon taking the oath of allegiance as required by the statute.
Okay, thank you. And upon taking the oath, the motion will be granted. And you're about to take the oath of allegiance to the United States, which appears before you on the screen. But before you do so, before I administer the oath, I've been requested to explain the meaning of the oath. It's extremely important, and it's more than just words. It has two parts. In the first part, you will absolutely and entirely renounce allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty. After you take the oath, you will owe all of your allegiance to the United States. The natural allegiance you have had up until this time will be destroyed as completely as if it had never existed. However, even though you're giving up your former allegiance to the country of your birth, this does not mean that you must also give up your traditions, your culture, your heritage. One of the great things about the United States, at least in my opinion, is that so many people of diverse cultures and traditions are living together. The United States was once referred to as the great melting pot, but I never liked that term. When you think of melting pot, we all come in and are melted into some kind of big mess. I think a more appropriate metaphor is potluck, because what's a potluck? Each culture contributes their best nourishing food and traditions to the success of the United States. Especially to food. Food brings everybody together. And at this ceremony, I see We have 23 applicants from 15 different nationalities. Since we're live streaming and your families are out there, let's see who's from Albania? Raise your hand. Okay, Albania. Next, alphabetically, Burma. Who from Burma? Canada. What, do we miss somebody from Burma? Let's do Burma again, okay. All right. Canada, who came from up above? Congo, Kinshasa. Welcome. Dominican Republic. India. Oh, okay. Were you? You weren't sure?
Well, I was born in India.
Oh, okay. And now you're going to be American, United States. Okay. Iraq. Welcome. Israel. Oh, right here. Laos. Malaysia. Mexico. Okay, we had north of the border, south of the border. Nigeria. Welcome. Philippines. Hi. Thailand. Oh, way in the back. And Ukraine. Welcome. Okay, so that's the first part of the oath. You have to renounce your allegiance to your former country. Now, if there's anybody here that is unwilling to do that, then you should let us know right now and we'll dismiss your petition for citizenship. So if you're unwilling to do that, you have to raise your hand and let me know. No hands. That's good. Now, the second part of the oath. You will swear to support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. The Constitution was adopted by our founders of this country who came to America from many lands, at that time primarily from England. After obtaining their independence from England, they wrote the Constitution in which they attempted to guarantee to themselves, their children, and their children's children certain rights that they had not enjoyed while under English rule. These rights include the freedom to worship as they chose, the freedom to speak, the freedom from imprisonment without fair trial, and the opportunity to work and acquire property. The Constitution is an amazing document where the principles our forefathers expressed over 200 years ago have remained unchanged, even though there have been some additions known as amendments. The first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, were adopted at the same time as the Constitution. Several subsequent amendments were the result of struggle and sacrifice, such as the 14th Amendment, providing civil rights to all persons. That was enacted in 1868 following the Civil War. In 1870, the 15th Amendment was enacted, giving all persons, regardless of race, color, or prior servitude, the right to vote. It says all persons were given the right to vote. However, in 1920, we passed the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. It took us a while to recognize that women were all persons. Strange, but everybody now has the right to vote. And you will too, when you register. By taking your oath, you join the citizens of this country and promise to support and defend the principles stated in the Constitution, even though it may be difficult at times. After you've taken this oath, you'll be known as citizens of this country. You will be joined with the rest of us as the joint heirs of the great Americans who founded this country and wrote our Constitution. But do not be deceived or lulled into complacency by the words of the document. The Constitution only provides you with rights and privileges, but not guarantees. In other words, you have the right to pursue happiness, but there is no guarantee that you will find it. You have the right of equality of opportunity, but there's no guarantee you will find riches. You have the right of freedom of speech, but this does not make you wise. You are promised liberty, but this does not mean you will find peace. Each day of your life will not be as memorable as today. It's up to you, each and every one of you then, to pursue these privileges, these rights, and hopefully you will obtain happiness, wisdom, riches, and peace. Okay, I'm about to administer the oath. There we go. Keep my hands to myself. Okay. I'm about to administer the oath. So what I'd like you to do, if you're able, I'd like you to rise. If you can't rise, just sit where you are, but raise your right hand, and then, as best you can, repeat after me. I want to hear your voices say this oath, and I'm going to try and break it up so you don't have to say the whole thing. Okay. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of whom or which I have been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Congratulations. Give yourself a hand. You're now citizens of the United States. Let's hear it from home. Okay, be seated, please. You know, citizenship in the United States, such a glorious possession, representing the dreams and struggles of people for centuries, including my grandparents who became citizens just like you. I'm going to show you something. You're not going to be able to read it. I'm going to hold it up. But this is my grandfather's certificate of citizenship. Doesn't look anything like yours. When you get your certificate, it's going to have your digital picture on it. I mean, it's something. I wish that they had a digital picture of my grandfather, but this is dated September 16th, 1912. I know they had cameras, but not digital cameras then. And it says, my father was 3 months old at the time. So why do I have this? Obviously, to my grandfather, this certificate was more than just a piece of paper. To him, it represented something, and he kept it. And my father, they had a lot of kids, but my father ended up with it. And then I got it from my father, and I put it in a frame since I do these ceremonies. And when it's not here in the ceremony, it's on the wall of my office. I hope to pass it on to my kids. Because, you know, our present form of government was established and has been maintained for generations of struggle, suffering, sacrifice. Many of you probably had to go through that to be here today. I know my grandparents did. In other words, having a voice in our government, freedom of worship, freedom of opportunity, All the freedoms of human aspiration do not come by accident. These freedoms were not handed to us on a silver platter. But freedom is not something once achieved will last forever. Freedom is not automatic. It must be preserved by those who, like you, are willing to work for it. And one of the primary ways each of you can maintain our system of government is by exercising your voice. And by that I mean voting. And I always come back to voting because I'm amazed that having a voice in our government, such an important freedom, is exercised by so few people. Usually, less than 50% of those eligible go to the polls to vote. They let others govern our country by default. So I urge you to vote in every election. And to do so, you first have to register. That's half. But then when there's an election, you actually have to go and vote. And when you vote, if you have children, take them with you, because I think that sends a message to your children how important this right is. Or if you vote by mail, have them go to the mailbox and tell them what you're doing when you drop that ballot in. So I call upon you, each and every one of you, pass the meaning behind your certificate of citizenship to your descendants. Tell them to cherish the freedom we have, just as my grandparents did, so that our nation may continue as it has in the past. However, as former President John F. Kennedy once said, freedom has many difficulties, and democracy is not perfect. You are not joining a perfect society. The United States has its faults, but we know what they are. Except for Native Americans, all of us came from somewhere else, but we still have so much bigotry and intolerance for those who are different. Despite being one of the richest countries on earth, we still have poverty and homeless people. Despite providing education and legitimate opportunities for people, we still have too many drugs, too many guns, too much violence in the streets. But we're trying to reduce and eliminate these things, and in that effort we ask you to join. There are many civic and charitable organizations that try and help this country obtain its ideals. John F. Kennedy also said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And you can start right in your local neighborhoods helping to improve this country. So, as we come to the conclusion of this ceremony, I again offer you my congratulations on becoming citizens of this country. It's great to have you as citizens. So that's going to conclude the ceremony. However, just stay right where you are so that you can receive your certificates, and there'll be further instructions. I've learned there are always instructions. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
All right.